This is our review for the Mercury Awards. We're just basically going to run through who's up for, you know, the album of the year, and we're going to say who we like, who we don't, and what sort of field they're sort of putting out this year, what sort of bands are getting nominated, what sort of genres. Okay.
Yeah, so one of the first acts or artists is Biffy Clyro's Only Revolutions, the album. I own this album, and I think overall I really like the album. None of the tracks sound particularly similar, which is always good, so all the tracks sound different to your ears. I think they're not the biggest of bands, but I think enough people know them to get enough sort of what's the word, like
a taste for what they're doing.
Yeah, but I think
any songs in particular?
Yeah, they have a few singles off the album, I think. Yeah, three or four singles are off this album. So it's 5 even. So I think people will know, well, nearly half the songs off the album anyway, just from if you watch music channels or if you listen to the radio often enough. But I think there have a couple of songs that they could have released as singles rather than other ones. I prefer songs like Shock Shock and Boom Blast and Ruin as opposed to things like Mountains and That Golden Rule. But I think Bubbles is a really good song, like one of the, I think it's the most recent single actually, and Many of Horror, which is the single just before, I really like as well. But
the sort of band that I'd heard about, you know, years ago, but I wasn't sure who they were because everyone's like, oh, Biffy Clyro, yeah.
I think I don't know how many albums they've had. I think this is their 4th or 5th.
Yeah, they're quite regular. But people who like Block Party used to always go on about them. I never tried looking at them. But obviously they must be quite good. Okay, next band. I Am Klute,
Sky at Night.
Okay, well we've basically had a quick look because we weren't too familiar with them. They're like a Manchester band who are a bit. They've got that sort of cliched voice.
Yeah.
And that accent that everybody, you know, seems to use, and they're apparently
oddball pop.
Oddball pop, yeah.
It starts the first song of the album, which is called Northern Skies, starts off really nicely, but then it's just ruined by the bloke's voice. I
think that's consistent with a lot of these bands, like Wild Beast as well. I think the voice is really killer in many ways, and I think in a way some of the bands that are nominated this time, like Falls, have changed their vocals to sort of suit for more people.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's better or worse. Anyway, the next album is Dizzy Rascal, Tongue in Cheek. Not really a great fan of Dizzy Rascal. I used to pretend I liked him to impress the chavs at our school, just to kind of keep a good you know, regard with them. Chavs in American terms, what was that, like white trash, I guess?
Yeah, well, yeah, I suppose so.
Something like that.
I was gonna say I can understand why people like this album, but no, I can't.
It's sort of a dancey thing, isn't it?
It's more dance than what he used to. He came from like the grime background, didn't he?
Yeah, I liked some of his early stuff. I really liked it, but I think they've just included him for posterity, really, because he's, you know, he's worked his way up, and you know he's so big now in England that I think they had to include him at some point, even if this album isn't very good.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably one of the main things about it. Okay, Paul Weller,
Wake Up the Nation. I think Paul Weller is just too past his time for any chance, really. I'm not sure why he's up for this, but
unless it's a really great comeback album. I mean, admittedly we haven't listened to it because we just thought it's Paul Weller.
Yeah, it's. I've heard some of his older stuff, and it's not good. Yeah. And if he does do anything new, I can't imagine it being much better. To be honest, it would just be trying to sound better.
So unless this is some amazing rebirth of Paul Weller, then you know, goodbye, and there's no point. Corinne Bailey Rae, obviously her husband killed herself a few years ago, so you know she's obviously done well to get an album out as it is.
Yeah.
But you know, we listened to a bit of it. I listened to a few live things a while ago, but it's not that bad. It's a nice album, but it's not my kind of thing. I don't think it's your thing. So
no, it's not really. I mean, I do like the track. Well, the first song on the album, which is called "Are You Here?" I think it's it starts off a bit bland, a bit, you know, old like Corinne Bailey Rae, but by halfway through it started to get a bit more upbeat and a bit.
Yeah. I did like it more than her first original songs like "Put Your Records On," which was
Oh,
a bit
it's just too poppy and all summer.
I just associate it with someone on a bike going through a field, and that's it really.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
So yeah, that's our take on that album.
Yeah.
As bad as it is.
Okay, the XX.
The XX with their self-titled album. I remember I got this album when it came out, and I remember thinking, yeah, this is quite good. But then you go through the first few tracks and you start to hear there's a consistent theme. The guitar is always on the same setting. Always, every song on the album is the same. So there are a few standout songs like Infinity and Shelter, but apart from that, it's just so similar. And I think live they're terrible. They're absolutely terrible. They just stand there like this, looking scared, and then the bassist occasionally goes like that. So yeah, I don't know if we'll edit out that that amazing thing out, but hopefully not, because it was an amazing interpretation.
The album's quite old itself, isn't it? It came out quite a while ago.
I think it was out last year. Either that or it was out early 2010.
Yeah.
But it was great. Some of the songs were great for what they were, in that it was a new band. But I mean, I'd heard about them a while ago but it's just jumping on the bandwagon because there's a band called Xerox Teens, the teenagers, other things like that. It's a bit weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, okay album, but I think it will win. I think that's my tip, but not because I think it's a good album.
Yeah.
It's just gonna get because everybody's listened to it. And also, I think part of its popularity is because of dubstep remixes.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of remixing. Like, oh, this band must be good. Let's sort of.
And they did some things with Florence and the Machine. That's probably a lot to do with it.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, great album if you're kind of, just easing your way into good music, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Villagers, Becoming the Jackal is the next album.
I don't remember listening to this. We listened to it a minute ago.
I think it was very. Oh no, yeah, it was
folky again, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very.
It's not folk though, is it? It's a new sort of fusion thing that people are trying that isn't that great.
It's sort of just acoustic-y sort of folk. It's less folk but more acoustic, but you can see the folk sort of side to it.
But it's quite annoying really, because if half of the entries are this sort of music, why have they done this?
Yeah, true.
It's not like the main music.
I think that's sort of why they threw Dizzy Rascal in there to get a little bit something else.
Because I think the main music coming out of England at the moment that's really good is the electro stuff.
Yeah.
Or the electronic influence stuff, which hasn't been acknowledged at all really. Maybe to a degree falls because it has some element of that, but
sort of the
just synths. It's probably the only band with a synth in it.
Well.
So it's just really weird. I mean, obviously bands like Metronomy, who I kind of associate with that, and they didn't make an album this year, but I think something like that needs to be in there just to give some more diversity.
Yeah.
Okay, next band is